Hello everyone, this is Gary D. Tonicourt from MoreThanASnapshot.com. Today I want to talk about a new product from Luminar, or actually maybe considered kind of an old product that's been repackaged. It's called Luminar Flex, and basically it's Luminar 2018 brought back as a plug-in for other programs like Lightroom and Photoshop, and in the Mac side Aperture and Apple Photos, and even Photoshop Elements. So the idea behind this is they went to Luminar with libraries, Luminar 3, and that had a library of its own. But I guess users were saying, but we really only just need the photo editing AI filters. We don't really need the library because maybe they already use Lightroom or Photoshop or some other program. So they put out Luminar Flex to fill this gap where if you already use Lightroom as your photo manager, you don't necessarily need to use the photo manager in Luminar 3. So you can use your regular Lightroom workflow and then send the photos over to Luminar Flex whenever you want to use it as a plugin, if you want to use some of their AI filters or some of their looks. And it works well. I've been testing it out, and I might show you a little bug that I think it's a bug. We'll see how it works out. But overall, I like it, and I would probably use it as a plugin because I'm still using Lightroom as my main photo manager. So I'm going to take you into Lightroom right now, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works. Here I have a raw file, and I can send this over to Luminar Flex in a couple of different ways. Over to Luminar Flex by right-clicking on the thumbnail, going to Export, and then coming up to Edit a Copy with Lightroom Adjustments. If I do it that way, of course, it will create a TIFF file and send it over. I could have done the same thing by going to File, and then Export with a preset, and then coming down to Luminar Flex, Edit a Copy with Lightroom Adjustments. So when I click on that, it's building the TIFF file and it's going to send it over to Flex. You'll see when Flex loads up, it looks just like Luminar 2018 did. You still have the looks at the bottom, you still have all of your tools on the right side, and it just doesn't have the library. Alright, so once it's here, I can make any adjustment I want to make. I can apply looks to it, etc. And then when I'm done, here you can see it's a TIFF file. When I'm all done making those adjustments, all I have to do is hit apply, and it's going to export the file back into my Lightroom library. It automatically closes down Flex and goes back to Lightroom. Okay, here you can see the new file is coming in, and you can see that it is a TIFF file, and it even says Luminar Flex edit.tiff. Okay, that's fine, that works great. I sent it to Luminar Flex, I did some edits, and I was easily able to send it right back to Lightroom as a TIFF file. Now there is another way of doing this. I'll pick a different picture here. Now if I come up to File and I go to Plugins and Extras, if I come down to Luminar Flex and choose Transfer to Luminar Flex, now it will actually send the raw file over to Luminar. So when you're doing your editing in Luminar, you're still editing the raw file, which is kind of nice. The only problem is when it sends it back, it will send it back as a TIFF file, which is not a big deal, but it's not maintaining the raw workflow all the way through. So I'll just click on a preset just so something happens to this file. And here you can see right now it is still a raw file, .dng. And if I apply these changes, here's the other interesting thing that happens when you do it this way. It still will close down Flex and it will go back to Lightroom. But the little bug that I was noticing is that it does not put the file back into the library. But if I right click on the file and then go to Show in Explorer, It will show me that original file in Explorer. This was the original file. And then right next to it, I have my newly adjusted file from Flex. And it is a TIFF file. So when it sent it back, it didn't send it back as a raw file. It made it into a TIFF file. And the other problem is it didn't put it back into the Lightroom library. Now, that's not a big deal. All I have to do is just go back to Lightroom and just do a file import and select that folder, and it will put it back in. Right now I don't remember where that is, so I'm not going to waste the time to do that. But it would easily, you know, you can easily add it back in, but it doesn't happen automatically. That's a little bit disappointing. You're going to have to try it out for yourself and see what workflow you would prefer. As far as the editing goes, I would prefer to work in Luminar Flex even as a raw file. But then I don't like that it converts it to a TIFF and doesn't put it back into my library. So I don't know. It may just be easier just to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. You're going to end up with a TIFF file anyway, and it will show right up in your Lightroom library. The other thing I want to show you is that it does also work very well with Photoshop. Pick a photo. I'm going to right click on it and go to Edit In. And I'm going to open it as a smart object in Photoshop. So if you're going to send it to Photoshop, it's a good idea to have it as a smart object, because then if you want to make more changes to it, you can do that with the smart object. Alright, so here is my layer and it is a smart object. Now to send it over to Flex, all I got to do is come up to Filter, and then Skylum Software, and then Luminar Flex. Alright, here it is in Flex. So let's say maybe I want to make it a black and white. Alright, and then I'm going to hit Apply. And it's going to update in Photoshop. So now the black and white file is in Photoshop. And here you can see it's a smart layer. Now, the advantage of having it as a smart object is if I click on or double click on Luminar Flex, it will reopen it right back in Flex so that I can continue to make changes to it. So let's say I didn't like what I did and I wanted to come back here, and I'm going to make some sort of a change to this picture. Maybe I darken it a little bit and then say OK or Apply. Okay, and now it's going to update in Photoshop. And I can keep going back here to this smart object as many times as I want to continue to make adjustments. Then when I'm all done, I can just click the little X on the file. It'll ask me if I want to save it, and I'll say yes. And it'll automatically save it and send it back to Lightroom. Alright, it just saved it, and I'll minimize Photoshop. And here you can see the files right here in Lightroom, and it is a TIFF file. It's 5646 edit.tiff. So that workflow works great with Photoshop and Lightroom. So what you'll notice where Skylum is going with this is they want to eliminate Luminar 3 as a plugin for these programs like Lightroom and Photoshop. Right now it's still there. I think if I look in plugins and extras, Luminar 3 is still listed, but they are going to do away with that because they want the main plugin to be Luminar Flex. They are charging for Flex, but there's good news. They're charging $59 for Luminar Flex, and I will put a link in the description. If you use the code SNAPSHOT, you can get $10 off. But if you have already bought Luminar 2018 or Luminar 3, you can go to Skylum and download Luminar Flex free. It comes as part of that package. But if you haven't bought those and you're just looking for a plugin to work with Lightroom and Photoshop, this Luminar Flex is going to be the way to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you get something out of it. Let me know what you think about the software in general, and what you think about that possible bug that I found in it. I know they just released this software, so that may be something that they will update and fix. Again, this has been Garrity Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com.